Okay, so today is February 17th, 2022. I just took a picture of myself. Okay, I'm gonna go inside and do my therapy appointment. Let's go.
So, we were gonna talk about the doctor, how do you say it, Dispenza?
Dispenza.
I can't read my own writing. And?
So it's a video that I want you to listen to for about 10 minutes or less.
Okay.
I sped it up and got it right in the exact place. It's an hour and 18-minute video, but I only was able to listen to 10 minutes before turning it off. And I was super fascinated, and it's almost like the way I want to put it's the train tracks I want my brain to go on. Do you know what I'm saying? All right, so I'm gonna see if this works.
Let's talk about a practical scenario where someone's in a relationship 5, 10, 20 years, married or not married, and both parties have a pattern of defensiveness, of passive aggressiveness, of reacting when they don't like something. And then one person starts to transform, and they do your work or they do meditation work, and they really start to connect with their heart and their mind, and they start healing the trauma of the past, and the other person hasn't caught up yet. How does someone either inspire the other person to come on this train with them and elevate their thoughts? Or if they are unwilling to, is there a way to be in a happy relationship if your partner is still in reaction mode more than you?
Wow. Again, speaking from my present state of ignorance, because I'm on a journey also. I will tell you this, that one of the things that happens when people start to come across information and knowledge that's really valuable, and they want to share it with the person next to them or share it with their lover, whatever. But if they're in a relationship for 15 years and they have a lot of emotional agreements with people and things, and they're in a lot of habits, we only accept, believe, and surrender to information that's equal to our emotional state. So sometimes it bounces off the person, and if the person's really enthusiastic, then they're really like, whoa, what is up with you're changing in front of me? I don't like you this way. We had a thing going here. We could pick apart anybody or anything. Now you're not showing up equal to my memory. You're unpredictable. You're in the unknown.
You're unsafe.
Yeah, the unknown is unsafe, right? So a lot of times the enthusiasm is the first thing that starts creating disconnection. But if the person goes, that's amazing, that's really cool, say it again, like they're ready to hear the information, those people are going to evolve together, right? If the person just kind of looks and says, oh my God, my wife's on the Kool-aid or whatever it is, this person is, they changed their medication, I don't know what's happening with them, then that person that is trying to explain it philosophically is just looking for someone to exchange information with. That person may not be the person. He may just like Sunday football games and Monday Night Football and hanging out and drinking beer, and they fell in love when they were the same, right? So now, the next step is to find the person that you can exchange that information with, because you want to understand it better so you can begin to use it. Now, you have to stop preaching to that person. That's the first thing you have to do. In other words, show up happy. Show up transformed. Be the example. And then one of two things will happen. I tell my kids this all the time. If you're happy, then that person is going to want to get some of that. And they're going to ask you, all right, so what the hell are you doing? Like, all of a sudden, you're like happy. They're either going to go, I want some of that, and they're going to evolve together. Now, if they don't, and then you come down here and compromise yourself to meet them on that level, they're going to take some of your energy, and you're going to be like, who am I?
Resentful, angry, all those things.
You didn't respond the way I wanted to. Now we're angry and we're back down here, right? But if you stay happy and they come up and they meet you there, then you're still happy. If you don't come down and you stay happy and they stay there and they move away, guess what?
You stay happy.
You're still happy.
Yeah.
So then people in relationships will compromise themselves out of obligation, out of necessity, out of obedience, out of programs. And at the end of the relationship, they don't even remember who they are because they compromised so many aspects of themselves.
That's why you hear in a lot of people when they go through a breakup, they're like, oh, I lost myself in this relationship, because I'm refining myself.
They were changing They were changing in a way that kept the relationship safe.
Why do so many relationships do this in general?
Because nobody wants to tell the truth. If you sat down and said, let's get vulnerable. Let's sit down, let's open our hearts. I have a bottle of wine, let's get vulnerable. Hey, I'm this. How are you doing? Like, what's really going on in there? Are you happy? And then be an adult. Like, you're unhappy, I'm unhappy too. You want to try to stick this out? All right, well, if I were to say, if I could get in my heart and I was looking at myself, these are the things that make me unhappy that I want with me and that I want to change. It's not with you, it's me, what I want to change. And the other person said, listen, I'm stuck. I'm stuck too, I don't know how to change. I'm doing this, I'm drinking more or whatever. I gotta stop. And it's important enough for me. This relationship is important enough for me that I'm willing to make the change, and let's figure out how to do it together. That to me. Or I've done this, hey, I can't feel it anymore. I can't feel that feeling anymore. I think it's time to move on. I love you, but I've changed and I still love you, but I gotta go. I mean, it's just different. We don't have the same interests anymore. We've grown in different directions, and out of respect, let's do that together, right? So those relationships still stay fertile. They're still wonderful. They're still, you keep them alive, but they've transformed into something else. It's the not telling the truth about how you really feel, because it would make you vulnerable, and that may mean someone one-ups you, or you may get shocked or rejected in some way.
I think the place in my life right now, I'm 37, the thing in my life, in the relationship I'm in now, I'll tell my girlfriend often, I'm so grateful that we're on this journey together. And there's cultural differences. You've been with a Latin woman in the past. There's cultural differences. There's language differences. There's belief differences, all these things. The thing that I tell her is listen, I want to be with you for as long as we can be together. If that's our lives, great. I'm committed to you. But I'm also committed to myself. And if we're not able to line up consistently over time, and if we're both suffering and we're unable to make it work, it's okay. We can break up. It's okay. And this is the first time I've been in a place where I'm okay with her and okay not with her.
Yeah.
And she's
That's healthy.
Well.
Yeah.
And so we were able to talk about these things from a healthy space, not needing it to work out.
Right.
Because we're not lacking.
Right, because of course, because you feel differently. You're using the love. Look. The truth is, if you truly are love,
Yes.
then you will be challenged always to a greater level of love. And I have had enough mystical experiences where I thought, you just can't have any more love than this.
Really?
Until I've had another experience and I'm like, wow, there's even more, right? So in a loving relationship, I have 3 children and I only want the best for them. That's it. So if you truly love someone and you want the best for them and they need to go, you gotta love them.
Yeah.
Just as long as they got that kind of clear agreement with each other. Like, I'm gonna go. I just gotta go. And yeah, it's gonna hurt, but that's if there's truly love, you would want that for that person, their best, right?
Yeah.
Every day. But I get better at it. And I always say, okay, there are emotions and energies and frequencies that are just ineffable. You can't describe how much love that is or the feeling that you feel.
So it can go on because he doesn't know how to take a breath, really. But I really liked the message, but I had to stop it because I was with Jim last night and playing it. And I was rising with the message and feeling really inspired by it. And I could sense that Jim wasn't there. And because I wasn't able to focus on the message so much as I was focusing on I don't know if he was breathing heavy. I don't know if I was in my head too much about what he was thinking or feeling. But I decided to pause it for me because I was losing out on the message. I wasn't.
You need to listen to that alone.
Right. So I wasn't as fully aware and present with the message. As soon as I paused it, Jim's like, what are you doing? Why you stop it? And I go, because I needed to stop. I wasn't able to process the information in the first 10 minutes of it as much as I wanted to before I watched the rest of it. I didn't realize it was an hour long and blah, blah, blah. And so he says, because I hadn't listened to it prior. And so he says, okay. And I go, what did you think of it? Probably a bad question to ask him because he says, well, all I heard them say is that it's, if they're not going to heal with you, it's okay to break up with them or something like that.
Yeah, well, he's just hearing he's hearing the part that's a threat.
Right. Right. And that's
just more evidence that he's not really willing to change who he is as long as he can change you.
right.
And that's unbalanced.
It's very unbalanced. And it's to the point where I'm listening to what this message is, and it's like, okay, I'm obviously not ready to let go of the relationship. I obviously get some sort of benefit out of hanging on for as long as I have. I'm learning my boundaries. I'm learning that I don't want to live with him, but I also learn that I get to take back my power in the moments that I choose to be around him. So, what does our future look like? I don't know. It's not within my control. I let it go, and I just worry about my happiness. I worry about...
Yeah, you don't have to overthink it. That's the beauty of all of this, is I think sometimes, with therapy, we go over so many different concepts and ideas and skills that it's very easy to overthink everything.
Right.
And because there's a skill for everything, there's a perspective for everything, there's a concept for everything. But we don't have to know how and why it works. Just like they said in that recording.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to know the why, and we don't have to preach it to our significant other. It's the evidence of it in your own life is the message.
Right.
Right.
And
it
that's...
reminds me of a place, not to religiousize it, but it reminds me of a place in the Bible where Jesus healed some blind guy, and they were trying to get to the bottom of what happened. The Pharisees, right? The ones that are literal thinkers. What happened? How did it happen? When did it happen? Why? All of the questions. And he's like, look, all I know is that I was blind and now I can see. That's all I know.
Right.
And that's really can be your attitude is, look, and that comes, and from what these guys are saying, is that comes from being present, being unapologetically who you are.
And that's what made me really excited to share it with you, is because it's the same concepts that you've been talking about.
Yeah.
About being present, being mindful, letting it go, really, and not being stuck in the past with it, not letting your anxiety get away with it, because you're just going to attract more of what you don't want by focusing on what you don't want.
Yeah, and the more we look back on the past and the whys and why did this happen and what could I have done different, the more we do that, it's just evidence that we're not really present. Because when we're present, we're here in the moment, we're not elsewhere. When we're in the past, we're not present.
And I really love what they were saying about being honest and having that moment of vulnerability where you're taking accountability for why things are the way they are. Pointing fingers takes less pressure off me having to take accountability, and if I can just stop doing my victim thing, then I can get out ahead of my own stuff quicker than all that.
Yeah, and you're not the crystal that you were when you were a child.
Right.
Now obviously, we know that there are different parts of you and they all have value. But the idea is to be able to use the healthy adult parts of you to be able to bring the childlike parts of you, the inner child, out from that way of thinking.
Right. And use what I've learned to nurture that inner child into new coping strategies.